In a matter of life and death, tonight, two medics suspended after pronouncing 66-year-old Thomas Maxwell dead when he was still alive. Maxwell suffering a cardiac arrest when paramedics were called to the scene. His daughter Phoebe insisted he was still breathing, describing the encounter with first responders she felt was hasty and they made the wrong call.
He just squatted down by my dad, and I'm like, he's still alive. This was his arm. He went like this. Okay, I'm sorry, ma'am, he's gone.
Phoebe told our affiliate WFLA the EMTs called the sheriff's department and left the home when the officer arrived. But minutes later, the Pinellas County deputy noticed a breath.
And the sheriff came in and said, then we called other medics. And you're right, they found a slight pulse.
In a statement to NBC News, the Clearwater fire chief said, quote, "On behalf of the city, I apologize for the actions and the inactions of our crew during this incident. We have strict policies and procedures in place that were not followed according to our preliminary review." He says the two medics have been clinically suspended and can't provide any patient care while the comprehensive review proceeds. Incidents of this kind are rare, but they're not unheard of.
It might happen, once a year per se, once every other year. It doesn't happen commonly.
But just weeks ago, an 82-year-old woman was pronounced dead at a nursing home in New York, only to be found alive later by funeral home staff.
Cannot even imagine. But awful.
And just days before that, a 66-year-old woman in Iowa was declared dead by a nurse and also found alive later when funeral home staff says she was gasping for air when they unzipped the body bag.
Just so you know, this female was transported there deceased, and she is not.
Experts like emergency physician Dr. Raid Vukmir say every case is different and variables can change, but that they are always looking for signs of life.
There are three components of neurologic response: heartbeat and cardiac activity. And then lastly, we look at sort of their respirations. Does the patient respond? Is their heart beating? And are they breathing on their own?
He also says he likes to take a short time out, wait a bit, and do a second check to avoid what happened to Thomas Maxwell in Florida. The fire department telling us today he's receiving attention at a local hospital and still alive.
Okay, Guad joins us now from Miami. Guad, we just heard you give us an update there on that man who they thought was dead, but clearly alive. Do we know anything more about him?
Tom, his daughter told our affiliate WFLA that he is in intensive care and he's receiving help from his speech therapist because of slowed speech. She does worry that because of this incident, he may suffer from long-term effects.
A routine day at the O.B. Davis Funeral Home took a stunning turn when an 82-year-old woman pronounced dead was found to be alive and breathing.
Cannot even imagine. But awful.
I can imagine the shock for the families and friends to see the person who was actually dead and that's starting to breathe.
According to Suffolk County Police, the woman was at Water's Edge Rehab and Nursing Center in Port Jefferson. Police say she was pronounced dead at 11:15 a.m., transported to the funeral home at 1:30, and was discovered breathing by 2:09 and taken to a nearby hospital.
My sister texted me to send me a thing. I was blown away. Yeah, no, that was pretty scary.
Scott Burkmeyer's mother had been a patient at that rehab center. She was discharged 2 weeks ago. This news hits him different.
I don't know who was running the show, or there's obviously a lot of incompetence there somewhere, at some level.
The nursing home did not return our request for comment. The funeral home, which discovered the woman alive, said in part, "We are not in a position to comment further on this matter."
I have a neighbor who was at that rehab for probably 9 months, and could have been anybody, could have been my relative. So it's got to be very upsetting.